Welcome back, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm going to introduce the panelists. And I think we're missing one person at the moment. And I will introduce him if I see him walk to the front shortly. Might have gotten pulled aside by breaking news. To my immediate right, Jaap Burnside. Jaap has been in the news business for more than 20 years as a reporter, anchor, and manager in cities such as Seattle, Boston, and now Miami. He's with WTVJ. He is the recipient of many national, regional, and local reporting awards. He's been covering environmental issues for a very, very long time. He has 6 regional Emmys, if I have that information correct. Jaap is a member of the National Board of Directors of the Society of Environmental Journalists, which is having its national conference in Miami for the first time ever, coming to Florida in October of 2011. And he's going to be pulling that together with the University of Miami. And Jaap is on the board of my program, my institute. I have also in the far end, Michael Singer. Michael's an artist, designer, planner. He's a distinguished visiting scholar at James Madison University College of Integrated Science and Technology. He's the principal behind Michael Singer Studio, a multifaceted art, architectural, landscape planning, and design studio. And he does quite a bit of work here in Florida. His work includes planning and design for Whole Foods market stores, shopping center hosts, the West Palm Beach waterfront, West Palm Beach, South Cove Islands, and I know he's working on a project with the Solid Waste Authority for their garbage burning facility, I guess. Do we still call it that?
Renewable energy.
Renewable energy. Sitting to the left of Michael is Charles Pattison. Charles is the president of 1,000 Friends of Florida and a fellow of the American Institute of Certified Planners. Before coming to 1,000 Friends, Mr. Pattison was director of the Division of Resource Planning and Management at the Florida Department of Community Affairs from 92 to 1998. And he has also worked as a field representative for the Nature Conservancy's Virginia Coast Reserve. And he's worked in the Keys, and we're happy to have him here today. And is that Matthew in the far end? Hey, Matt made it. Matthew Hagman, who I had not met until just now.
Right on deadline.
Right on deadline, yes. He's a staff writer and investigative reporter for the Miami Herald. He has covered the courts, real estate industry, and local government in a nearly 10-year career in Miami. He's won numerous awards, and he has been on Squawk Box and on Public Radio's Marketplace. And he helped pull together the Herald's award-winning year-long investigative series about toxic home mortgages. Borrowers Betrayed. I don't know if any of you read that. And he was the real estate guy, and he is now county reporter. Am I right in that, Matthew?
That's right.
For the Miami Herald. And New Times said he was the best Miami Herald reporter for 2010. And I don't have the final bio here. So why don't I let Dr. Voss introduce our last panelist?
Okay. Okay, our last panelist, not our least panelist, is Kim Glas-Castro. She is the immediate past president of Florida APA, and she's a land planner at Ruden, McClosky. So what we want to do with this panel, I'm going to keep my comments extremely short. But I think what you heard this morning was David Prosperi said a really interesting thing. He says, I've heard all this before. And I think as planners we probably have. But one of the things that we do very poorly, I think, as planners is actually explain this and communicate the things that we're working with the larger audience. You know, and I noticed this when we were listening to Robert Lang, and I was listening to Diana, and I'm listening to ourselves asking questions, and I realize how easy it is for us to get stuck in our technical language, and how easy it is to get at a level that really probably does not apply or really doesn't go over very well with the general public. So what we thought we'd do is, well, the first thing we did is this conference has been online, we have been streaming it online, and I was Dan just walks away. How many people do we have? 81 or something? 120. All right, so 120 people actually watching this conference online, and this was our first attempt to try to get these ideas that we have and these discussions that we have to get it across to a larger audience. And I think that 120 people, that actually is pretty darn good. Now, we were also trying to get comment back from people. Now, that has not worked, unfortunately. Now, I'm not sure if the system was down or the people are not used yet to give us feedback. So the intent of this panel is to try to figure out, now, what can we as planners can we use the press better? Can we use the media better? How do we do that? What do we need to give to the media to help them report better on those issues that we think as planners are so important for our communities? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give all the panelists about 5 minutes to make some opening remarks. Then I have a couple of questions, and then I really want to put it open to everybody to have a discussion about how can we do better in communicating our ideas to a larger audience. So I was going to go through the list. So Kim, if you can start. All right.
Well, at Florida chapter of APA, we've been having these kind of discussions the past week. Post-election, we're on the election high or maybe low, depending on what your viewpoint. But now that we have everyone's attention, we're wondering, well, how can we keep their attention so we can have some meaningful dialogue? Especially as an organization, we want to talk about our citizen participation best practices manual that we're putting together, and also to talk about the need for an ELMS-like study group. Let's get the stakeholders at the table, and let's talk about revamping the growth management system in a meaningful way, and not these piecemeal legislative changes. So we talked about, well, maybe we can start with a press release, and our PR person said, no, that won't get anyone's attention. So we, I don't know if you've gotten involved in our LinkedIn social media, but we started a little dialogue there, but it's just me and Merle talking amongst ourselves. So it's, just us. We just talk amongst ourselves, and we don't seem to get the attention of the masses, those that we really want to reach. And this morning Joel confirmed, at least at the Palm Beach Post, they're really not interested in meaningful planning type articles, that it's not, not sexy enough. All that I really see is if there's something that's sensational, Cobra buses in, 3 busloads of people attend the zoning hearing. It doesn't seem like we can really capture the attention of the media to give them something to write about. Every now and then we'll get a call. I know we got a call from the Miami Herald on Amendment 4, got a call from the Shiny Sheet on Amendment 4. We're not looking to be quoted in the paper, but APA has members of all background, all expertise. We can be your experts. If you take the time to write a meaningful article, we can provide you information and details and facts, and would like for you to rely on our expertise. Just kind of where we think we are is that unless there's a crisis, unless there's some issue that impacts you directly, it seems that Americans really don't take the time to get involved, don't take the time to be informed. Maybe it's a byproduct of our representative form of government. They're expecting someone else to look out for their interests. But it's just time that we stop talking amongst ourselves as planners and try to engage the public more.
Thank you. Charles?
Thank you. We're a nonprofit growth management advocacy organization. That's what Thousand Friends has been since 1986. And so promoting smart growth, whole growth management concept is really why we were formed. That was to see the thing implemented. And the real strategy that we've always had is we work with the media to explain the significance of big issues, and we go to the editorial boards or look towards them in particular to try to influence decisions primarily at the state level, but sometimes the local level. And the question I have right now is any of that relevant anymore? I was looking, I'm sure you saw that Alex Sink got editorial board support from every major newspaper in the state. And there's a big question about what that meant, if anything. Same thing is there on growth management. Traditionally, the media has been, I think, consistently one of the best supporters, proponents of managed growth in Florida, very much seeing the dangers of what happens with uncontrolled growth. And yet we have usually been able to get positive editorials presented that have statewide implications, and the consequence of that seems to be nothing. We don't see elected officials being directly affected by print media especially, and so I think what we're going through right now is a better way to communicate these issues. What is that method? We don't know yet. I think the difficulty we've heard described today is trying to take complex growth management issues and translate them down into something that's either meaningful or short enough to get a reader's attention. We're going to have to go beyond that. I think we're going to have to be looking at a Facebook or Twitter approach where you try to translate it down even below that, a sentence or two, because that seems to be where people are communicating these days. I don't know that we can consistently do that. I think the dilemma we've all faced is planning. First of all, it's not a one-shot deal. It is an ongoing, it's a continuous process, and unlike a lot of things that state government and local government deal with, it's not one and done. You got to go to the planning commission meeting this week, you got to go the following week, you've got to be in front of an elected body, you may need to be in Tallahassee to try to influence legislation. That's a big commitment, and I think Kim said it right. Communication is going to be the key for all of us making an impact as we go forward. Maybe we're going to have to find new avenues that touch a bigger part of the population, which we haven't done in the past.
Very good. Thank you. Jeff?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come here because I do think this is an incredibly important topic. And in that same breath, there is a new media reality. There is a new media landscape. And if we all collectively thought it was difficult to get this on the front page or on the newscast or in front of the public, on the public agenda, I think it will be vastly more difficult now. As we all know, the media landscape is continuing to splinter with tens of thousands of media opportunities for the public. Of course, the largest, at least in my sense, the fastest growing segment is no news media, that the public is becoming disengaged, in part perhaps because of this plethora of this cacophony of media. For the last several decades, news consumption has continued to drop, and newsrooms are becoming gutted. The reality is that we don't have the luxury very often, not completely, of focusing on big picture stories, and I'm speaking now for television, local television news now. We can barely keep up with our short staffs with events happening today. And any true journalist realizes that's not the way to cover a community, by simply responding to things happening that day. So when I hear my colleagues here on the panel talk about other ways of reaching the public, that is and must be an option to consider. Now, it's more difficult, but there are more opportunities in that regard as well. And I look to people who work in newsrooms like Matt, as even though they've been devastated by layoffs and recession and revenue and the internet, they're still, I think, our best hope for long-form, thoughtful journalism, which is what these kinds of issues really scream for. My friend Andy Revkin at the New York Times always says, "You'll never see a headline that says climate change broke out today." Well, because it's always incremental. It's so slow. It rarely slaps the public on the face and commands their attention. You'll never see a headline that says good planning or bad planning broke out today. You can't expect to go to an overwhelmed editor and say, "I think you guys should do more planning coverage." Well, again, this is an editor who can barely keep up with events of the day. Now, that does mean there are opportunities. For example, when an event does occur that suggests a bigger problem, then those are the times when stakeholder groups have an opportunity to get their message out to the public. That's why it's so important to be media savvy on days of a breaking news story. For example, a few weeks ago I did a story on the record high tides on Miami Beach, and our cameras could literally see the water rising as it was gushing through pressure up the storm drains on South Beach and flooding Alton. I mean, you could see the water rising. Now, I know that was an exaggerated notion, but it was reflective of a bigger issue. And so that, for example, was an opportunity. Or